taking action for you.
What's happening in entertainment? From Tinseltown to the Big Apple, this is your weekly entertainment magazine with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
Welcome to another edition of PulseBeat with Greg Dunmore, and on this show we're going to define the word impressive. So we're going to talk to our guy Billy T, who does it like none other in the Big D, and we're going to underscore why the Dance Theatre of Harlem defines the word impressive, as we had the great opportunity to talk to the just recently retired Virginia Johnson, the executive director of the Dance Theatre of Harlem, who recently appeared at the Detroit Opera to a standing room only. So stay tuned as we impress you.
We go to New York City this morning to check in with Virginia Johnson, who is one of the founding members of the Dance Theatre of Harlem. She was born in Washington, D.C. She graduated from the Academy of the Washington School of Ballet. She briefly attended the School of Arts at New York University as a university scholar before joining DTH in 1969. 28 years with the company. Greg Dunmore.
Virginia Johnson, she's on the line.
Good morning, Virginia Johnson.
Good morning, Mildred. Wow, that's a lot of introduction.
The Dance Theatre of Harlem, the legendary Dance Theatre of Harlem, which was founded by a man that I've always admired, Mr. Arthur Mitchell. And it is really, really historical whenever you come to any city, and coming to Detroit, we are just blessed that you're going to bring these great dancers. Can you update us on what we should expect with the Dance Theatre of Harlem coming into Detroit?
Absolutely. You know, we've had a long relationship with Detroit. I remember coming there and dancing for so many years. But this is actually the return of the Dance Theatre of Harlem company, and they're doing a very, very exciting repertoire of 8 different ballets. So there are 2 programs. On the first program, there's a beautiful work that's by Alvin Ailey, you know, the choreographer of the Alvin Ailey Company.
Of course.
It's a gorgeous work that he created for his own company, but we are doing it on point. We are the only other company in the world that does the Lark Ascending. And
when you say on point, for those who are not really proficient in what that means from the wonderful art of ballet, on point means exactly what?
It means dancing on the very tips of your toes. So we wear those lovely shoes that help us, the beautiful shoes that help us stand on the very tips of our toes. You know, I always say that dancing on point is the closest thing you can get to flying.
Oh,
it's
yes,
the
yes,
last point on the earth before you just take off into the air.
And there's something very distinctive, you know, when you talk about ballet, plié, relevé, soon plié, and that classical training, the distinction that the Dance Theatre of Harlem, which Arthur Mitchell, who proved when he was being directed by the great George Balanchine, and he did Puck, I know, in the Midsummer Night Dream, and that was one of his signature pieces. There was this thought that African Americans would not excel in this very classical, very detailed art of ballet. Where was that coming from? Was that strictly racism, or was there something else behind the fact that they thought that African Americans would not excel in the art of ballet?
Well, you know, there was a lot of racism involved in that. There was the idea that we didn't have the right kind of body, that we didn't have the temperament, that perhaps we couldn't understand the refinement of ballet. But, you know, Arthur Mitchell, when he formed the company, really wanted to prove not just that blacks could do ballet, if you put your hard work into anything, you can change it. But that if you have something in your heart, and if you have something that you know that you can do, and you get the opportunity to train and prepare for it, you can do anything in the world. It's not just that you're going to be a ballet dancer. You could be a scientist. You could be a doctor. But you need to have opportunity, and you need to have access.
That is so.
And that's what Dance Theatre of Harlem was about.
That is so true. And when you say the right kind of body, what is the wrong kind of body? Because I know this issue about body, and black people, certainly we've been great athletes, but in the art of ballet, what is considered to be the right body as compared to potentially the wrong body?
Well, especially back in the 1960s when Dance Theatre of Harlem was found, people thought that ballet dancers had to be very, very skinny with very tiny heads, a short torso, and long legs. And they thought that we had, they thought our butts were too big, to just put it plainly.
That gives us balance, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But, we come in all shades and all shapes and sizes. There are all kinds of people who are not black who don't have the right kind of body. So it's really to just look at black people and say, well, you can't do this because your bodies aren't right. It was just another way of saying that they didn't think that we belonged in the art form.
Right, so that was just a very tricky way to tell the lie that tried to exclude us from something that... See, this is one thing about... I've always said this about black people, black folk, that when we get it right, nobody does it better. Unfortunately, when we get it wrong, that's another discussion. But when we get it right, no one does it better. So when you talk about it, could be tennis or golf, and certainly Arthur Mitchell proved when he brought together this dynamic group of African American people, or even Hispanics that certainly have the blood of Africa running through their veins as well, that we could not only excel, but define. So tell us some of the real shining moments where, and I know you were there in the beginning, and you would be performing before non-black audiences, and when you hit the stage and they had their stereotypes, what was the reaction that you can remember when they would first see the Dance Theatre of Harlem?
Well, there was a lot of skepticism in the beginning, and people would come to the performances, but they would come, and they would be a little bit cool in the beginning, and by the end of the show, they would be absolutely standing on their feet cheering because they had an experience they didn't expect. And it happened time and time again. One of my favorite things, though, as a founding member, was the education activities that we did and continue to do. We would go into the public schools and do lecture demonstrations for young people who had not been exposed to the art at all. They didn't have experience with any of the classical arts. And, they were not coming from a place of bias. They were coming from a place of not knowing what this was. And seeing those young people get it about you can do something in the world if you prepare for it. And we use classical ballet to tell them that story. That was the most meaningful thing to me, to really ignite that passion for the arts in young people.
And that's what you have done. And for that reason, we are encouraging everybody to spread the word, because nothing is classier that defines class and dignity than seeing the Dance Theatre of Harlem. And Virginia, we thank you for calling in, Virginia Johnson, because your contribution to the art of dance is, as I said before, magnificent.
Lord, won't you hide me? Lord, won't you hide me? Lord, won't you hide me all of that day?
PulseBeat.
A mythical creature. A ballet like no other, not seen in over 20 years. Firebird is part of who we are. It's a story of transformation, resilience, and beauty, told in a way only Dance Theatre of Harlem can. With costumes and vision by the inimitable Jeffrey Holder, choreography by John Terrace, and music by Igor Stravinsky. Dance Theatre of Harlem is bringing Firebird back and ensuring its place in the canon of great ballets.
If you like what we're doing, please tell a friend. Or if you want to see what we've done again, go to pulsebeatglobal.com. That's PULSEBEATGLOBAL.com. You can also go to our PULSEBEAT TV YouTube channel and you can revisit what we're doing. And once again, you can tell everybody that we're doing something that is so exciting that they wouldn't want to miss it. Remember PulsebeatGlobal.com or the YouTube channel PULSEBEAT TV. Thanks for telling the world about us. We'll be right back more with our guy, Billy T in the D.
It's all around the D with your man Billy T. All around the D with your man Billy T. Today, we're going to check out the WHPR TV 62 Museum, downtown Detroit. Let's go inside and take a look around.
DJ Sound, that's my name.
All right, Billy T live at the WHPR TV 62 Museum. I'm standing with Mr. Joe Spencer, the president of the Historical Society here. Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm well, how about you?
Good, good. WHPR, the first black television station in the nation, was right here in Detroit. And you have a museum now. Tell us a little bit about the museum and why you built it.
Well, WHPR, as you've said, was the very first black-owned and operated television station in the United States, and for that historical fact is the basis of why this museum exists. But there were other things that make it important. It's about the people who helped to make it, you know, the gentlemen who were really giants for their time in terms of the ability to put together the funding, to get the license for the broadcast facility.
And when did the license come about? When did we go online here?
The station went on the air in September of 1975.
1975. Wow, that was a big deal.
The only one in the country.
And this gentleman right here, Mr. William V. Banks, was the catalyst for this whole thing. He was the man.
Yeah, Dr. Banks, very extraordinary kind of man. He was a minister, he was a lawyer, he was a real estate developer, and he was an organizer. He organized the International Masons here that started in Detroit in 1950. Wow. You know, had over 400,000 members in that across the country. Had significant real estate properties in Detroit. An African-American man who owned a major high-rise building in downtown Detroit in the 60s.
And here we are after so many years. Let's take a look around and see some of the other things that took place here at WHPR TV 62. Where'd you get your programming from?
Well, as an independent station, we didn't have a network like an ABC, NBC, CBS to feed us programming. So we had to produce our own programming. And therefore, that caused us to hire many, many people and produce hours and hours of programming. And here, this board here kind of shows just some of the array of programming. News was very important to us. Entertainment was very important to us. We even had foreign language programs that we put on the air. And this hired hundreds of people that started many, many careers and produced many, many programs. Now, one of the things we did was a dynamic show called The Scene.
The Scene, now we're getting somewhere. So The Scene was a big, huge dance show. Everybody remembers The Scene, Nat Morris, The Scene dancers. How did that come about?
Well, I mean, it was a natural, you know what I mean? First of all, WHPR was a radio station before a television station. Right. So the music roots were already there, okay? And so having a TV station, you know, that was a natural thing to do a dance show, do an entertainment show, do a show where you can show style. The Scene was one of the shows we did. We also did another show called Contempo, which you actually host. You actually host that show.
I got a chance to host it along with the other jocks on the radio, which was a lot of fun.
And then that was the New Dance Show.
R.J. Watkins and the New Dance Show. Yeah, those were some good old days. It all started with the radio station, which, if I'm not mistaken, came on board online in 1966?
1964.
64. Okay. All right.
Dr. Banks, again, being a forerunner of things, he bought the first African-American owned FM station in Michigan, okay? Played a lot of rhythm and blues, a lot of gospel, and eventually became one of the hottest radio stations in Detroit.
That's right, but he had the vision to know FM was coming. Somehow he knew. Absolutely. Yeah, of course, the electrifying Mojo was one of the big names on the station back in the day.
Mojo,
Foodie, Marvelous Marv, and who is this guy?
None other than Billy T. A very young Billy T on the show.
This is where I got my start. I had so much fun. I always tell people some of the most fun that I had in radio was right here at WGPR. Yeah. And to be able to come and also do television on the historic TV 62, it was a real treat. All around the D, it's your man, Billy T.
The excitement is going to continue. Stay tuned. You're watching PULSEBEAT.TV.
PULSEBEAT.
A mythical creature. A ballet like no other, not seen in over 20 years. Firebird is part of who we are. It's a story of transformation, resilience, and beauty, told in a way only Dance Theatre of Harlem can. With costumes and vision by the inimitable Jeffrey Holder, choreography by John Terrace, and music by Igor Stravinsky. Dance Theatre of Harlem is bringing Firebird back and ensuring its place in the canon of great ballets.
PULSEBEAT.
I'm in the auditorium of the Detroit Institute of Art, where we're going to introduce you to the inspiration that Lisa McCall's Holiday Detroit will give us.
So many shows come around the holiday season. We get great musicals, great Broadway shows every year around the holiday season. But most of us are in the audience. Everybody cannot afford to move to New York, LA, or any other place. Why do we have to move away to have great productions? I want to do Broadway style quality productions in Detroit. And why start with someone 30 or 40 when you got kids that have talent too? So I want these kids to do New York level work and New York level caliber shows at home in Detroit.
When I think of the great choreographers, and that list would of course include Katherine Dunham, Martha Graham, Alvin Ailey, Arthur Mitchell, Judith Jamison, you're on that list. And your expertise is working with young people, and how apropos for us to be seated now talking to you at your home base at Voyager College Prep High School in the heart and soul of Southwest Detroit, Michigan. Why young people as compared to not so young people?
Well, when I was growing up, I had some great people that were my mentors that shaped my life, from Clifford Fears, working with Miss Dunham, working with Mr. Ailey, working with Arthur Mitchell. And we had, through Coleman Young, we had a performing arts program called Festival of the Arts. And even before Festival of the Arts, we had Detroit Council of the Arts. We no longer have programs that are pre-professional based for young artists. And those are life-changing opportunities that I had growing up. And Detroit is the entertainment mecca for artists. We have some of the best artists that come from Detroit. And I don't want people to always think that they have to go to New York, they have to go to LA, they got to go to Philadelphia to great training. So I wanted to take my experience and provide opportunities for young people to showcase their talent. And I just wanted to give back. I mean, I come from me, Ali Jackson, James Carter, Kern Brantley, all of us was young, gifted people that had these different platforms. All of us became successful because somebody professionally gave us opportunities. I wanted to do the same thing here in Detroit.
So let us know who this international icon who saw something in you when you were very young that did for you what you're doing right now for young people.
None other than the Queen of Soul herself, Detroit's own Miss Aretha Franklin. I was at Festival of the Performing Arts under Tim Weston, and at the time my teacher, later my mentor, was Clifford Fears, who at the time was Miss Franklin's choreographer. And she did one of her famous parties, lawn parties, and she needed dancers. At the time, I think I was like 12 or 13, I was young. And I remember him going to Aretha and saying, Miss Franklin, I got this really great dancer, she's just young. Since you're having a lawn party, everybody else is older, but can I please use her? She's an amazing dancer. And the rest is history. It started through Clifford Fields.
And Aretha, a lot of people don't realize, was very particular about dancing because she even told me, she said that had I not been this singer, I would have loved to have been a ballerina. And she worked with the best though, because I know that she worked with Louis Johnston.
Louis Johnston, George Faison, even Debbie Allen over the years.
But nobody worked with Aretha longer than you. Nobody. So that is part of your impressive resume.
I bring in professional artists and choreographers and lighting directors, sound engineers. I teach my kids, like I do quizzes on how to do a writer, how to do a technical writer, how to do a budget, how to do wardrobe, revenue, ticket sales. I work hands-on in every aspect of entertainment with my kids, and then I say, these are real jobs. How to do a budget, how to do choreography, how to create, how to take movement from the classroom to the stage. And I think as time go on and they see it coming together, they get excited. They don't come in excited. This is not a performing arts school. So kids don't take dance as seriously, or music or theater like they would at the Detroit School of the Arts. So that passion comes from me. And then I help them find the fire in them. I give them real productions, not like little recitals. And I think it's a harder sell than back in the day. We wanted to dance. We live, eat, breathe dance. Whereas this generation, it's hip hop, it's hip hop, it's hip hop, which is okay. But I exposed them to African dance, Brazilian dance, Haitian dance, praise dance, tap dance. I let them do hip hop, and then they find the beauty of movement and they voice in the movement. Then they find the respect for dance, and then they realize that they can do it. When they see the audience clapping and coming for them, I got the whole basketball team. So now everybody wants to dance because of my passion and respect for it, and they found the beauty in it. Whereas back in the day, it didn't take much. With the boys, they become more open to African dance and then moving into like praise dance until they get the beauty of it, and then they're open to dance because a lot of the athletes, I explain to them, take dance. And so it's the intense stretching, understanding the storyline of the movement, then it's an easier sell. But just having boys wanting to dance just because it's dance, no. But again, it's what I offer. I know how they think, so I start with African dance and rhythms, slide into hip hop and then praise dance, and then I can teach them any form of dance and they're okay with it. The beauty of Katherine Dunham, she gave black dance its beauty, because years ago, anything that moved from the waist down, anything from the waist up was restricted, so that was considered beautiful because that was classical. Everything was very rigid. Whereas traditional dance, from the waist down, you might move your hips, and they looked at black dance as not beauty. And Katherine Dunham gave black dance on mainstream media, mainstream stage. She gave black dance its beauty. The problem was light-skinned dancers was the only ones that they wanted to be in Miss Dunham's company. And she said, no, I want some of the dark-skinned girls, because she brought the Caribbean and the African movement over to the United States. So she gave black dance its beauty from moving from the waist down. Now getting into classical dance, they looked at our bodies because maybe our thighs was not as thin or our bottoms wasn't as small in their eyes, so our bodies wasn't considered beautiful enough to do classical. No, our bodies was made for us, and the movement that they was doing was not our movement, constricted for us. And what Arthur Mitchell did, or maybe he was the one that gave us our just due, he started getting more dancers and choreographers that found the beauty of the way our bodies was made and how our stories was told through our bodies using classical music and classical form. And that our bodies and movements was just as beautiful as any other culture, but they constricted to our bodies. And it was important for Dance Theatre of Harlem to be created to show that our black girls, our brown girls can be just as beautiful doing Giselle or any of these other ballets that was created for our bodies. And that's the beauty. We can do it just as well, if not better, with soul.
Young people may be watching this, but I want you to communicate it from the waist up, and I want you to do it through movement. And then I want you to tell us, what did you communicate to these young people who are watching through some movement? So just do it just
here and then everything in me, I pass on to you. Simple as that.
Wow, and guess what you're passing on? When I felt this movement, I felt that you were passing on L-O-V-E, love.
Which is a universal language.
Thank you, Lisa McCall. You are legendary and you are a blessing.
Thank you.
To not only Detroit, but to the world of dance.
Thank you.
We're going to introduce you to the inspiration that Lisa McCall's Holiday Detroit will give us. Thanks for watching this episode of PULSEBEAT with Greg Dunmore, and remember, each one, teach one, reach one. Thanks for watching. Until the next go round.
PULSEBEAT